Yes, my name is Shogs and welcome back to my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode, where today we're joined for episode 6 and round number 6 in season 1 for the French Grand Prix. If you did miss the previous episode though, be sure to check that one out before you watch this one, as we had an immense race around Canada. It was one of the best races we've had so far in the season, and one of the most action-filled ones as well. So if you did miss that one, please be sure to check that one out, as things are beginning to hot up at the top of the table in this season. So if you don't want to miss out on the next few episodes, then be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and if you like the video, then hit the like button as well. But before we go to some racing, we've got some management and PR work to be getting on with in the form of a department event, and in this case it's for the durability side of things, and they're wanting to know whether we should reallocate some poorly invested funds into the durability, and that would in turn give us a decrease in one of the R&D upgrades for us, or whether we should just reallocate to the R&D, and so we in turn we get R&D points. And I think in this case we're just going to go for the R&D points because it seems like a better option, as you either get a 10% discount on one upgrade, or you get 500 points to be able to spend on that upgrade or a different upgrade. So it seems like a no-brainer to me. So moving on, we've just had an aerodynamic upgrade fail on us, and that's for the front wing. So that's going to take a bit more time to come through, unfortunately. And I think we're also going to invest some R&D points somewhere else as well. I usually like upgrading what's discounted first, and those are the ones in purple, as you get a little bit of some R&D off of the upgrade price, and you usually get that from doing the practice sessions before the races. And what I just do is just sim them and hope for the best, as doing the full length practice sessions can take a lot of time, so just quick simming them really helps for the races and gets that R&D price down as well. So that's why we're going to invest into the ICE. I know a lot of people don't like upgrading the durability until they've done all the other departments first, but I think that doing them all at the same time really helps, and having a tasty 36% off as well, you can't say no to that. But that's enough about the upgrades, and let's jump straight into qualifying at the circuit de Paul Ricard. Now we just finished putting the setup on our car, and I've just noticed something crucially before we jump into qualifying, and that is that our gearbox is at 70%. We've got one more race before we can change our gearbox without getting a penalty, and if we do it before that, then we're going to be further down the field. So I think we just got to risk it, try and race as well as we possibly can with the issue that we have and any more potential issues that may come from this gearbox fault, and just try and do as well as we can. That's the only thing we can do. So let's jump straight into it. On our first lap out on qualifying, we jump into P12, which is last on the grid at the moment, and we get set a time of 1:32.5. So not the best lap time we could have hoped for, but we've got the time to be able to make that back up and improve on our last lap. And we set a green sector 1 with 7.5 tenths up on our previous lap time. We set a green sector 2, but as we come around the final bend now, we're 4 tenths up on our previous lap time. So we've lost a bit of time through that last sector, going down to 3 tenths, and it's only enough for P16 at this moment in time. If you listen carefully as well, you can already hear the gearbox trying to skip a gear when we upshift down that final straight. So we're losing time just trying to put the power down on the straights, and on a lap like circuit to Paul Ricard, you're not going to be able to keep up with your competitors if you're missing gears. However, we had to be sure to be able to get through to Q2, and we go out for a final lap. There's just about enough time for us to set this last lap. We set a red sector 1, a green sector 2, with 4 attempts up on our previous lap time now. Going down the final straight, we're struggling to get that up to that 5 tenths mark, and we cross the line, and we do just enough to be able to send us through to Q2 with P16. So I think that lap must just barge Mick Schumacher out the door of Q2 and prevented him from making his first appearance in the second qualifying round. And whereas our teammate Felipe Drugovich is still down the order in P20, so he's yet to make an appearance in Q2 so far this season. And he's yet to prove to me that he deserves a seat in F1. He could be out the door very soon if he doesn't start making his way up the table. So I do have a few drivers on my mind that I'm thinking of replacing with if he doesn't start showing his worth in F1. Nevertheless though, that's enough about our teammate, and let's focus on ourselves. We've set a first lap time of 1:32.2 to begin with, which is slower than our Q1 lap time, but we do end up staying out for another lap on these same tyres, and we do improve on our previous lap, but that's not enough to move us up any position in the leaderboards at the moment. So we decide if we're going to improve on our lap time, we need to get these laps in and fast, because that checkered flag is fast approaching and we're nowhere near the Q3 drop zone. So we need to make some magic happen here, especially as we're on our last fresh set of soft tyres. We set a green Sector 1 and Sector 2 with 1.3 seconds up on our previous lap. We send it into P12, and I think that's going to be the best position we can get around this circuit, as the French Grand Prix has always been a thorn in my side. It's always been one of the circuits I've struggled on, and today we've struggled on it again. Also dropped out of Q3 is Lance Stroll, Tsunoda, Gasly, Ocon and Kimi Raikkonen. Valtteri Bottas, however, almost came out of Q3 as well. One of the title contenders in this championship. He must be relieved to have made it through into Q3 on those sets of mediums, and to have matched his rival Lewis Hamilton, who also made it through on those sets of mediums. So they're both going to be at an advantage in today's race.
Here we are again then at Le Castellet for another round of this year's Formula One World Championship. Renault took their first French Grand Prix win all the way back in the inaugural race in 1906, but it was another 73 years before they could take their second. I'm sure Alpine will be pushing hard to delight the local fans here today. The circuit Paul Ricard then, a 3.6 mile track, 25 miles east of Marseille. 15 corners here, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, with the main overtaking chance expected going into turn 8. Top speeds today should be around 205 miles per hour. It's just about time to go to the track for the beginning of the race, but before we do, Anthony Davidson, what types of strategy do you think we can expect for today's event?
Well, there's a lot that both the driver and the team have to keep in mind when going into a race. The tyres, fuel, energy recovery systems, the list goes on and on. But I think the key to today's victory will come down to the pit stop strategy. Come in too soon and you might find yourself needing more than one stop. Too late and you're putting yourself at a disadvantage by spending longer on worn tyres.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Verstappen, Sergio Perez and Sainz, Leclerc, Vettel, Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll, Tsunoda, Gasly, Lando Norris. They've taken a grid penalty. Shah, Ocon, Raikkonen, Mick Schumacher and Antonio Giovinazzi, Russell, Drugovich, Mazepin and Nicholas Latifi. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
So we start the French Grand Prix with Lando Norris now in front of us in P13. We start in P14, and I think we're going to go for the 2-stop today. Now, although the 1-stop does have a better time, the two, I haven't been confident on the hard tyres yet this season, especially in Bahrain when we had so much tyre wear. I'm just feeling like the 2-stop, we'll make the most out of the tyres and we won't have to worry about leaning on them too much, as we know we're going to be going onto a fresh pair. But to 5 red lights we go for the French Grand Prix in Season 1. And we are underway. It's a good start initially, but we get so much wheel spin and that bogs us down, allowing Norris to get ahead of us crucially going into the first corner. And we've opened the door for Ocon behind us to come through on the inside, make contact into the back of Ocon, going into the first corner. But I think there are just a few friendly nudges and we can get into this race unscathed. Well, I say unscathed, our gearbox is screaming out at us. It's at 74% going into this corner, but what isn't going to fail us is our driving ability in this race as we make the double overtake on Norris and Tsunoda, and maybe make the move on Gasly as well. We make a bit of contact into the side of Gasly for good measure. Now we're neck and neck jockeying for position as we enter turn 7 and we make the move up the inside. We stay committed to the corner. We chose to be brave. We chose to be maybe a little bit ballsy as well, but nevertheless we made the position, we got this position, and we can now look onto the back of the Aston Martin car in the form of Lance Stroll, who's in a bit of a traffic jam at the moment as we enter that little turn 8, turn 9 chicane there. And looking on the mini-map, I think it was actually his teammate Sebastian Vettel who looks a bit slow up front. Maybe I think he's jockeying for P5 with McLaren car up ahead, but going back to our POV now, and we're still on the back of Lance Troy. He's made a bit of time on us, but we've still got this P11 position, so we're still on the back of some points maybe here in France. And if we manage to keep this race pace up, then we could look to steal some points off of those who made DNF in this competition. But right now, though, we get a little bit of a wobble off that turn line corner. Meanwhile, Tsunoda gets a great exit and he's down the left-hand side of us. And he's got in front of us going into turn 10. And we're still on there in the inside, keeping our foot in. But we back out, we brake early. Tsunoda makes a dive bomb us round the outside. And he managed to get that position from us. He stole it and then managed to defend so well against us. He parked the car so well in front of us that we had nowhere else to go apart from just look at his rear, and that's exactly what we've been doing through sector 3. We haven't been strong in sector 3 throughout qualifying, and now in the race we're still not very strong in it at all. We've not been able to judge the braking zones very well, and that's made this rookie versus rookie battle seem much more like a veteran versus rookie battle. But thanks to the upgrades we made on our power unit and the slipstream going down into the DRS straight, we managed to make the move up the inside and get back past Tsunoda and get a slap on the wrist for corner cutting as well. On the following lap, lap 4, we've got tyre wear issues, and that's on the medium tyres as well. So imagine if we're on the softs right now, we'd be having to think about pitting very, very soon. But for us right now, though, we're on 25% on these front tyres and only 10% on the back ones. So we must be doing something wrong as we enter these braking zones, and we need to be slowing the car down before we reach the corner rather than midway through the corner to be able to withstand any chance of making these tyres last. And as we say this, we get overtaken by Norris as he goes sailing round the outside with DRS. And look on screen, we set purple sector 1 and green sector 2. Whoa, it's a bit too close for comfort there with Lando Norris. But as I was saying, we set a purple sector 1, a green sector 2, and then it was a red sector 3 once again. And as we move on to lap 5, it was now setting red sectors, which just shows our tyres are wearing out very quickly, and we're just not finding our groove in this race as we go spinning out, lose all control of the car and find ourselves on the grainy blue tarmac of the French Grand Prix, and that's the place you don't want to be. And now we lost some vital time on our opponents and a few track positions as well, so all the hard work we've done up until this point in the race has just been undone, and now we are back at where we started in P14, I say that, and as we move up the places as some of the cars come into the pits for their first stop. So now is the time to push this car to its limits and try and catch up with our rivals and make up that time we have just lost. We're going to need to be driving the wheels off this car if we stand any chance of getting back into those points, and hopefully we're just praying and hoping on a safety car to do us justice. But as we encroach onto lap 11, we're nearing the 60% mark on these tyres, which is the puncture zone range. We don't want to be getting a puncture, so we come into the pits right now to prevent us losing any more time than we already have. However, coming in this early means that we have to do the 2-stop, otherwise we won't make the hard tyres run until the end of the race if we're going to be leaning on them as much as we have done on these mediums. But as our team do a fantastic job with the turnaround of the tyres, we let them down by getting a slow getaway. And now Latifi overtakes us on the main straight, which now puts us into last place on the grid. This has really not been the race that I've hoped for, but nevertheless we have to make the best out of a bad situation, and it can only go up from here. It can only get better, and that is what we're going to aim to do. You can achieve anything with a positive mental attitude as we look to pounce on Latifi. We fake left, go to the right, go sailing around the outside, and what a move that was. Latifi defended the corner early, so we capitalised on his error, and we made a stunning move round the outside on these fresh tyres. We knew we had the traction, and we made that move work. It was a ballsy move, if I do say so, but we were confident we'd be able to keep it in the lines, and Latifi didn't see it coming one bit. As we move through the laps now, though, and now we're chasing after Mazepin. He dives into the pits, which is a free position for us after putting some time between ourselves and Latifi, but we're now having gearbox issues, as you just saw on screen, and this is earlier on in the lap.
A mechanical issue means you've lost one of the gears. Say again, you have lost access to one of the gears.
So it was only a matter of time before we were going to start getting these gearbox issues. We got the radio call at turn number 4, and from then on we just started to lose all sort of composure as we were resting the car round turn 5, just trying to get the power down from gear 1 to gear 3. And it just looks like we're going to have to deal with some more bad luck, unfortunately, as we have a little sneak peek down the inside of Ocon. But once again, these slow corners are really putting us off, as we're getting so much wheel spin when we're trying to put the power down, and it's just not working for us. However, somehow we're still keeping the pace with Ocon. Maybe it's the fresher medium tyres to the hards. It's just showing and proving that mediums are so much better than these hards. And just as we make the move, there's a little screen error there, but we're now neck and neck, battling for position, jockeying, and Ocon makes contact with the car. We go drifting through turn 3 and somehow manage to maintain that position. And we are very lucky not to have had our race ended just then with simulation damage on. That surely should have been a race ending move. I think if that corner was any sharper, or if it was a street circuit, then we both would have been out of this race. But because it's the French Grand Prix and there's lots of runoff, we were able to both stay in the race. Further on in the lap, after we make our way down that straight, we're now on the back of Tsunoda, and it looks like we've joined the cars that are reaching the back markers now. Those that are doing the one stop are mixing with the two stoppers, and there is causing a bit of a traffic jam. But as we move on to lap 16, Gasly is battling with position for Alonso. We go sailing round the outside on Alonso as well, and it's a double overtake on the Spaniard, and Fernando is not going to be happy about that one.
Just yet, but we've seen a problem at our end. We're looking into it.
Oh god, we just keep getting bad news, and that is not something you want to hear when your gearbox is in the red zone. As you can see down in the bottom right hand corner, it's not looking good for us. I'm just hoping and praying our mechanics are able to fix it as soon as possible, as I know they do sometimes with these sort of faults. They get them fixed mid-race and we're able to carry on with our race, but all we can do is give it our best drive. And
okay, looks like a mechanical failure. We're going to have to ask you to find a safe spot to retire. Sorry about that.
Just as we were getting things back on track after that earlier spin, we're having to retire the car mid-race with an engine fault. At least we get to hold up our rival in the process, Tsunoda. But nevertheless, we should have just changed our gearbox beforehand. And just to make things even worse, we get a penalty right at the end for cutting the corner. Amazing. Just as we were finding our groove back into this race, we were looking strong in that P12 position, but it just wasn't to be for us at the end of the day. Everything was against us in that race.
Another superb French Grand Prix comes to an end, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory. And talk to me, what do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever,
so after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes.
So Lewis Hamilton makes it back-to-back victories for himself, and Valtteri Bottas takes up second place and nicks the fastest lap. So a copycat finish. I think Riccardo actually came third in Canada as well. So a copycat finish in Canada. And Daniel Ricciardo looking strong to maybe become best of the rest in this championship. But his teammate Lando Norris is nowhere to be seen on the points. Other notable victories are for Lance Stroll coming from 10th and finishing 6th, and for Gasly, the man we were behind before we retired, finishing in 7th place. So that could have been where we ended up in the final standings if we weren't to retire. And whereas our teammate Dragovic finished 19th, once again out of the points and nowhere to be seen in the top half of the table. So another poor display by him. Maybe that's the fault of our car, or maybe that's just a poor showing from our driver. In the driver's standings, the main man Valtteri Bottas, he's still leading the way, the Finn, and Lewis Hamilton with that victory, slowly catching up, only 5 points to split them. Max Verstappen, the best of the rest at the minute, but Daniel Ricciardo still there right behind them. So it looks like it's going to be a way up between the Red Bulls and the McLaren for that second space, but Mercedes are storming ahead in the Constructors' Championship, so no surprise there. We still stay in 7th place with no points in that race, but Aston Martin go ahead of Ferrari, notably taking that 4th place spot, and hopefully next time out we'll be able to get some points to move up that table. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy this video, please hit that subscribe button for more F1 content and to keep up to date with the championship and this career mode series. So yeah, if you did enjoy today's video, please hit that like button as well. So if you're ready to watch more drama unfold, then stay tuned for the next episode where we'll be racing around the Red Bull Ring in Austria. So stay ready for that one, because I'm sure it'll be a cracker.